I don't usually like to start these videos with pictures or descriptions of our problems, but the spring equinox can be a trying time on a farm. We've had a pretty wide range of weather this month, from sunny 60s on a few days to low teens occasionally overnight. Wind gusts over 40 miles an hour have played havoc with our occultation strips, yanking out ground staples and shrugging off T-posts like they weren't even there. Then the ground hardens up, staples can't be used, and our supply of T-posts is quickly exhausted. Concrete blocks, pallets, and the spare wooden beam are all pressed into service, but finally it's just a matter of balling up the strips and hoping they stay put for a few days. Some of the old season-end errors come back to haunt us at this time of year. The main irrigation line control boxes were left last fall with a loose covering of soil on the lids, but over winter that soil turned to mud, and that mud froze solid, sealing them up tight. Even on a warm March day, they stayed frozen shut until Ellen had the great idea to place a sheet of rigid plastic over them for a few hours. It was great to finally get them open with only minor damage, and it allows us to start irrigating in the high tunnels. Speaking of high tunnels, Peter, Sammy, Ellen, and Amelia made quick work of top-dressing the garlic, and by late in the week, the spinach in High Tunnel 3 was ready to cut again. Hand weeding and top dressing with compost is about to begin soon in all the tunnels, just prior to the first spring planting. The growing season gets a fast and exciting start in these unheated but protected structures. Over in the propagation house, we have some new wire tables being built that will give us enough room to increase our transplant production by at least 30%. Our new use of smaller cells in some of the plant trays will mean that for certain crops, each tray can hold 50% more plants. And as long as we are careful to maintain hydration levels as the sun rises higher and hotter in the sky, we should see another boost in production. Tomatoes, holy mackerel, those are the first 20 row flats of tomatoes on the heat table getting ready to germinate. Out of those narrow strips of germination mix will come 10 or 20 slender seedlings that will probably get transplanted into 4-inch pots like the one in the background. And then it's off to the races with an awful lot depending on our fickle New England weather. Can we warm the soil in the high tunnels deeply enough to encourage rooting? Will the layers of plastic provide enough protection so that any late spring frost just pass these tropical plants by without damaging them? Back out in the field, I'd like to show you the upside of our uncooperative occultation strips. This bed next to the blueberries was covered up with a strip in mid-October after a late fall lettuce harvest. You can see how well the strip has cleared the bed of any vegetation or plant residue in the 5 cold months since then. Here's what's left of a lettuce plant, and the high level of biological activity is evident on the soil surface. A little further down the bed is a patch of chickweed that has not yet fully succumbed, but it is weakened and has not been able to set seed in the dark conditions under the occultation strip. I wish I could say the same for that small patch of green that was just outside the edge of the strip. Hey, did you notice the ground staples slowly adding iron to our soil? In an adjacent bed, you can see some vole tracks, and those creatures really love to work away under the warm covers that also protect them from predators. Voles could become a serious problem for us if it were not for the healthy hawk and fox population in our location. If something were to throw that essential part of our ecological equation out of balance, we might have to resort to trapping or even corn gluten poisoning, but those actions surely would have their own unforeseen negative consequences. Jim has begun pruning the apple, pear, and peach trees, and those branches will make valuable contributions to our brush piles. Solitary bees, predatory wasps, and a host of beneficial organisms will find those brush piles and set up housekeeping. Even the fungus that starts the rotting process at the bottom of a brush pile can reach its hair-fine mycelia a remarkable distance and begin working their vital barter with the surrounding plant roots. The fine twigs high on the pile become useful as nest materials for our wonderful population of musical, insect-eating birds. The blueberries on the left are being pruned by Ellen, but the density of the patch and their complicated individual brush structure makes it difficult to show what a nice job she's doing. Even here on a day with almost no wind, you can see how badly our occultation strips would like to go airborne. It's almost time to plant our spring cover crops, so these ugly wads of black fabric will soon get straightened out, measured, labeled, and folded onto pallets, ready to be deployed as needed during the growing season. Even though they have made a temporary mess, you can see what a lovely surface they leave behind. Even the straw that was put down last summer as a mulch on the late tomatoes has broken down beautifully. Despite the row of tomato stems still poking up, almost all of the roots have rotted and become valuable additions to our soil food web. The bed of rye that was planted last in the fall is getting ready to make a comeback. The garlic in the straw mulched beds on the right will start to peek out of their warm winter blankets and show some of the first open field greenery of the season in a month or so. The beetle bank to the left will get cut low and the stalks laid down as mulch on the bank shoulders. The native clumping grasses that were chosen for the beetle bank are all non-invasive and haven't caused us any problems with reseeding yet. The overwintered spinach is still looking pretty scrappy, but the rapidly lengthening days at this time of year will work wonders on these two beds. If we can get in there pretty quickly for a final hand weeding, the eventual harvests will be much easier. Down at the western edge of the field, the winter rye that was planted a few weeks earlier than that single bed have really filled in nicely and should provide some good weed control in this section. And here's a great harbinger of spring way up in the shrub on the western border. We can see the first pussy willows starting to bloom. As the evenings begin to warm a bit with each passing day, these tight, white, fuzzy buds will burst forth in yellow, pollen-laden splendor. Every early appearing insect with the correct mouth parts will find a feast down there. And up in the eastern edge of the field as well, where we have a few additional willow trees. Oh my gosh, the wind has picked up a bit in the short time I've been out here, and the occultation strips are looking restless. As long as we can get them settled down before they go airborne, we should be okay. They are a valuable tool, but we're still learning a lot about their efficient management in our windy location. Every piece has to work together on a farm, and every efficiency that we develop increases our productivity. 2021 promises some big changes for us, and we hope you will enjoy the adventure with us. Thanks for watching.